Best and the worst that fame has to offer. Mia Farrow was born on February 9, 1945, straight into Hollywood pedigree. Her parents were film director John Farrow and actress Maureen O'Sullivan. Farrow grew up in a strict Roman Catholic household with 6 siblings. She loved to perform for them, their parents, and any sightseers driving by on celebrity tour buses. Farrow was a happy child, but a dark period was looming on the horizon. When Farrow was just 9 years old, she was struck by polio during a huge outbreak in Los Angeles County. Some records claim that up to 500 people were hospitalized at the time. The young Farrow was kept in quarantine all alone for 3 excruciating weeks. It was a lot for such a young girl to take, and she later said that the period marked the end of her childhood. Farrow has over 50 film credits to her name, and she didn't get them by waiting around. When she was 2 years old, she appeared in a short documentary, and then when she was 13, she appeared in her father's film, John Paul Jones. Few people know that Mia Farrow was close personal friends with the iconic musician John Lennon. He even wrote the song Dear Prudence for her younger sister, Prudence Farrow. However, on a more tragic note, Mia's apartment building is next door to the Dakota, infamously known as the place where Lennon was brutally assassinated. The Dakota was also the setting for what is probably Farrow's most iconic film, Rosemary's Baby. It was called the Bramford in the film and only used for exterior shots as no filming was allowed inside. It would be an understatement to say that Mia Farrow had a fraught relationship with her father. In reality, father and daughter were deeply unhappy. After the tragic death of Mia's oldest brother Michael in 1958, John Farrow began drinking heavily and had violent fights with his wife. When Farrow was just 17 years old, he passed away after suffering a heart attack. The Farrow family hadn't been in great financial shape even before Michael's passing, so when he died, things only got harder. Farrow's mother had been appearing in Broadway productions in New York City to keep the family afloat. After Michael passed away, Mia Farrow was ready to do her part to contribute to the family's finances. Making good on her slim figure and beautiful face, Farrow turned to modeling. In 1964, a year after her father's death, Farrow got her big break when she was cast in the primetime soap opera Peyton Place. She played Allison Mackenzie, an innocent teen girl, for over 250 episodes. Her love interest in the show was portrayed by then heartthrob Ryan O'Neal. Looking back, this is darkly ironic. O'Neal is now known for his controversial relationship with his daughter in similar vein to one of Farrow's famous exes. More on that later. When she was just 21 years old, Farrow fell madly in love with a significantly older man, the iconic Frank Sinatra, then 50 years old. But little did young Farrow know, the couple was doomed to a brutal end. Sinatra was very controlling of his young bride, demanding she give up her career. Farrow agreed, shocking the nation by leaving Peyton Place at the height of her rising star. At this point in her career, Farrow was known more for her high-profile marriage in her time on a soap opera than her mettle as a serious actress. However, an incredible opportunity was about to come knocking. Farrow was offered the prestigious leading role in the classic horror film Rosemary's Baby. But little did she know it would come at a great cost. After marrying Sinatra and putting her career on hold in 1966, Farrow spent 2 long years playing housewife while he continued to work. Bored of her bland domestic lifestyle, she agreed to play the role of Rosemary Woodhouse and Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. As the movie's shooting schedule ran over time, Farrow received a heartbreaking letter. Sinatra served her with divorce papers. Farrow actually considered dropping out of the film because of the strain it placed on her marriage, but allegedly a studio exec told her that she'd win an Oscar if she did it. Famously, Farrow was nominated for multiple awards for Rosemary's Baby, but no Academy Award, a move now seen as one of the most legendary snubs in Oscar history. Although Sinatra urged Farrow to quit acting when they wed, he actually planned to cast her in one movie, his passion project, The Detective, and so when filming for Rosemary's Baby took longer than anticipated, Sinatra was extremely furious. He recast Jacqueline Bisset in his wife's role in Cruelly Divorced Farrow. Despite Sinatra's callous behavior during the dissolution of their marriage, Farrow later admitted that when she was with Sinatra, she acted like an immature teenager, which contributed to the strain on their relationship. After their divorce, they managed to put the past in the past, with the pair even staying close friends until the legendary crooner's death in 1998. With Rosemary's Baby, Farrow finally found respectability and critical acclaim as an actress, and she was determined to continue on that path. She appeared in films opposite megastars like Elizabeth Taylor and Robert Mitchum and other up-and-comers like Dustin Hoffman. But soon enough, she'd make history all on her own. In 1971, Mia Farrow became the very first American actress to join the prestigious Royal Shakespeare Company. She would go on to act in numerous critically acclaimed stage productions in London throughout the 70s. Despite her strict upbringing and faith, Farrow also studied transcendental meditation with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in 1968. Unbelievably, she was there at the same time as all four of the Beatles, Mike Love of the Beach Boys, the singer Donovan, and Farrow's own sister Prudence. After Farrow's dramatic divorce from Frank Sinatra, the young actress decided to give love another try, setting her sights on the acclaimed composer André Previn. Unfortunately for Farrow and Previn, their relationship had a disturbing dark side. When they first started seeing each other, Previn was still married to his second wife Dory. When Farrow became pregnant in 1969, Previn knew that things had to change. He left his wife before Farrow gave birth to twin boys in February. Farrow and Previn were wed on September 10, 1970, just a few months after his divorce from Dory Previn was finalized. As though that wasn't dramatic enough, when Farrow and Previn walked down the aisle, she was 25 to his 41. After André Previn left his ex-wife Dory Previn for Mia Farrow, Dory wrote an absolutely brutal song titled "Beware of Young Girls." It excoriates Farrow, claiming that the pair had been friends but that Farrow had a dark and different plan. In the time Farrow and Previn were married, they had 3 biological children, twins Matthew and Sasha and son Fletcher. They also adopted 3 children together, Lark Song and Summer Song, both from Vietnam, and Sunya from Korea. While all Farrow's children would change her life, Sunya would have an especially troubling impact. In the final verse of Dory Previn's song, "Beware of Young Girls," she concludes with a brutal line. "She will leave him one thoughtless day. She'll just leave him and go away." Whether or not that's exactly what came to pass, Farrow and Previn did divorce. After 9 years of marriage, the duo went their separate ways in 1979. It was shortly after her divorce from Previn that Farrow began her most infamous relationship of all with director Woody Allen. While they never married, their relationship would last an unlucky 13 years. In the early years of her relationship with Allen, Farrow adopted 2 more children as a single mother, Moses Farrow, a Korean boy with cerebral palsy, and Dylan, who Farrow adopted at just 2 weeks old. They would later go on to be co-adopted by Woody Allen. The couple also had a son together named Satchel Ronan O'Sullivan Farrow. He now simply goes by Ronan, which is understandable. Farrow's relationship with Allen was incredibly fruitful for her career as an actress. She frequently appeared in her partner's films, beginning with A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy in 1982. The role was originally written for Allen's ex-girlfriend and frequent collaborator, Diane Keaton. Allen is now notorious for repeatedly casting certain actresses, sometimes called his muses, in his films. In Allen's 1984 film Broadway, Danny Rose, Farrow went to extreme lengths to play against type. In order to portray a woman who gets mixed up with the mob, Farrow gained weight and spoke in a heavy Italian accent, with many saying she was unrecognizable. Farrow's impressive performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination. In total, Farrow and Allen collaborated on a total of 13 movies during their relationship. Their final project, Husbands and Wives, was released in 1992, shortly after their highly public and scandalous separation. Ironically enough, Allen and Farrow play a married couple in the film, and surprise, surprise, Allen's character has an extramarital affair. In January 1992, Mia Farrow made an utterly disturbing discovery that would change the course of her life forever. Farrow and Allen had famously always kept separate homes across Central Park throughout their relationship. While visiting Alan's home, Farrow found naked pictures of her adopted daughter, Soon-Yi. When Farrow confronted Alan, he told her that he and Soon-Yi had begun a physical relationship 2 weeks prior to her discovery of the photos. She ended their relationship then, although both Alan and Soon-Yi later claimed that Alan and Farrow had already been broken up by that time. In any case, when Alan and Soon-Yi began their relationship, Soon-Yi was just 21 years old. According to the sources, both Soon-Yi and Alan claimed that their controversial relationship would raise eyebrows. Both Soon-Yi and Alan claimed that he hadn't had a paternal role in her life. During a later court battle, it was found that the two had rarely interacted prior to 1990. Their relationship wasn't made public until later in 1992, and the news emerged side by side with another horrific scandal involving Farrow and Alan. Mia Farrow and Woody Allen had been separated for months by August 1992, but he still visited with the children he shared with Farrow, Dylan, Moses, and Satchel. After an unsupervised visit with Dylan, then 7 years old, little Dylan told Farrow that Alan had touched her inappropriately. Farrow informed the authorities while Alan found out about the allegations from the family's therapist. Alan's response to the allegations was astonishing. While Farrow and Alan had previously been close to reaching an agreement about the custody of the 3 children they shared, after the accusation, he sued for full custody of Dylan, Moses, and Satchel. He also released a public statement confirming his relationship with Soon-Yi Previn. Alan also said that Dylan and Mia Farrow's allegations against him were false and that Mia had manipulated Dylan into making them as an act of vengeance. A series of lengthy, heart-wrenching court battles quickly ensued. Alan's petition for sole custody was ultimately rejected. Also, a criminal inquiry against Alan was not pursued by authorities in order to prevent any further trauma to Dylan. Finally, Farrow's petition to revoke Alan's adoption of Dylan and Moses was also rejected. In the years since the court battles came to a close, both Mia and Dylan Farrow have maintained their allegations of abuse against Woody Allen, with Ronan Farrow backing them up. Allen, however, continues to deny the allegations. During the final months of her relationship with Allen and in the years afterward, Farrow adopted 5 more children. The new Farrows were Tam, Kaylee Shea, later known as Quincy Maureen, Frankie Min, Isaiah Justice, and Gabriel Wilk, later known as Thaddeus Wilk. If you lost count, that makes 14 children in total for Farrow. 4 biological, 10 adopted. Of those 14 children, Mia Farrow is estranged from 2 of them. Soon-Yi Previn went on to marry Woody Allen in 1997 and has no contact with her adopted mother. In 1992, after her relationship with Allen became public, her adopted father, André Previn, coldly said of Soon-Yi, "She does not exist." Moses Farrow, who was first adopted by Mia and later co-adopted by Woody Allen, made an utterly chilling allegation. According to Moses, Mia Farrow was actually the abusive parent. Moses claims that Mia coached Dylan to make the allegations against Allen. After the conclusion of her court battle with Woody Allen, it should have been happily ever after for Mia Farrow and her brood, but sadly, tragedy lurked in the shadows. Since 2000, 3 of Farrow's 10 adopted children have passed away. First, Tam Farrow died of heart failure in 2000. Then, on Christmas Day 2008, Lark Previn passed away after battling an HIV-related illness. Finally, in 2016, Thaddeus Farrow took his own life. In 2018, Mia Farrow's estranged son, Moses, made a number of disturbing allegations about the death of his siblings on his personal blog. He claimed that Tam's heart failure was related to an overdose, and that Lark's death also partly stemmed from substance abuse issues. On a brighter note, Mia Farrow and Woody Allen's biological son, Ronan Farrow, is an accomplished journalist. Mia is also known for her volunteer work for humanitarian causes, advocating for the rights and health of African children as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. She has frequently traveled to Darfur to shine a light on the conflict there. For exclusive perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, and to have your say on future content, consider becoming a Factornate member. On top of that, your support helps keep the channel going. Click the link in the description for more details. One of the humanitarian causes that Farrow campaigns for is the fight against polio, perhaps because it's one that hits frightfully close to home. Of course, there was her own battle against the disease at 9 years old, but one of her adopted children, Thaddeus, also contracted polio and was paralyzed from the waist down as a result. Adding to her list of traumas, Farrow was also very close friends with fellow actress Sharon Tate in the 60s. After all, Farrow had been in Tate's Husbands, that's Roman Polanski's biggest movie, Rosemary's Baby. She was reportedly devastated after Tate's passing, as both had gotten pregnant around the same time. Rosemary's Baby was part of a wave of horror films in the 70s that used themes of Satanism to scare audiences, along with classics like The Exorcist and The Omen. But unlike its competitors, Rosemary's Baby nearly killed its lead actress. The director Roman Polanski actually made Farrow walk into traffic. His rationale? He assured her that no one would hit a pregnant woman. Luckily, he was right. If you really want to give him the credit for that. Through a lifetime of glamour, grief, scandal, and strength, Mia Farrow has never once taken the easy road. From walking blindly into traffic to walking away from some of Hollywood's most powerful men, this child of Hollywood royalty wields her influence not only for movies, but for justice. If you enjoyed this Factinate video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. Want a say in who we cover next? Join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.